They can't stop watching you, but it was never about your face. It was your fire. You were stalked not for who you pretended to be, but for who you forgot you were. What if the obsession wasn't admiration, but a mirror? What if the silence wasn't absence, but surveillance? Stay, because by the end of this message you'll understand why some people couldn't forget you, even when you begged heaven to forget them. Why they keep coming back, why they can't let go, and why that has nothing to do with them, and everything to do with what God placed inside you before you were born. Welcome to Chosen One's Prophecy. Here, the unseen are made visible, the hunted become holy, and the ones who were followed finally learn why. The obsession, the stares, the dreams, the spiritual surveillance. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. Luke 8:17 says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." You, chosen one, are what's being revealed, and they are the ones who saw it first. Before you even did, stay, because the signs that are about to unfold may explain your entire life. Marked by light, hunted by shadows. You didn't ask to be noticed, but heaven marked you, and hell noticed first. There was a shift in the spirit realm the moment you took your first breath. Not because of what you said, but because of who you carried. Your soul carries light that can't be taught, trained, or tamed, and wherever that light moves, it disrupts darkness. It awakens hunger. It ignites obsession. Some called it charisma. Others called it charm. But in truth, it was consecration. Just like Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own blood. Not for what he did wrong, but for what he represented. Favor, vision, destiny, and those who couldn't carry what you carried chose instead to follow, to watch, to mirror what they could never embody. You were stalked because you were set apart. You weren't being admired, you were being studied, not for your image, but for your impact. Their eyes followed your light, but their spirits couldn't handle what that light exposed. And yet still, you shine. What does it mean when they watch, but never speak? What are they looking for? The watchers in the dark. Some of them never said your name aloud, but you live rent-free in their prayers and their regrets. They think of you in silence, scroll through old messages, replay memories, trace digital footprints like maps to a lost treasure. You became the haunting they couldn't cast out. Not because of what you did, but because of what your presence revealed. Chosen ones have a strange relationship with silence. It becomes a teacher, a mirror, a shield. God hid you not to punish you, but to protect what others couldn't honor. Elijah called down fire from heaven, then disappeared into caves. David was anointed king, then hunted like a criminal. Esther was chosen, but kept hidden behind palace walls until the moment mattered. You were hidden in plain sight, and they still saw you. What does that say about your light? Even in your most silent seasons, you were being studied by spirits who couldn't explain the pull. You're not paranoid, you're perceived, and perception is power. Obsession as a mirror. Their obsession was never really about you. It was about what you activated. Your confidence exposed their fear. Your peace irritated their torment. Your presence reminded them of what they were pretending not to need. Transformation. Some followed you hoping to emulate your strength. Others followed you hoping to consume it. But here's the truth. You weren't sent to be possessed. You were sent to provoke. When Jesus walked, people pressed in, not just for miracles, but for identity. They were drawn to him because he reflected the version of themselves that heaven had written. You are that reflection. You are the before and after in motion. The living scroll of what surrender, fire, and favor looks like. And they couldn't look away. If this resonates, comment 444 now as a prophetic sign you are still listening and receiving. because we're only halfway through your scroll. When they can't let go. Some stalkers don't show up in your inbox. They show up in your dreams, your memories, your timelines. They appear through mutual connections, old photos, indirect mentions, and anonymous views that you feel before you even see. Why? Because to them, you were the doorway, the one who cracked open their slumber and showed them a glimpse of destiny. And now that you're gone, they can't return to normal. You left residue on their soul, and now their spirit is starving without it. This is the cost of being chosen. You leave impact where you never meant to leave a mark. But don't confuse their reach with reconciliation. Not everyone wants healing. Some just want another hit of your light. The anointing you carry is addictive, and addiction always leads to desperation. Divine surveillance, not paranoia. You thought you were being watched because you were vulnerable, but you were being watched because you were valuable. Heaven has never lost sight of you, not once, even when your knees buckled and your prayers turned silent. The Watchers weren't just human, there were also angels, guardians, assigned spirits, sent to protect the scroll inside your spirit. Psalm 91:11 says, "He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." You've walked through seasons where your name was slandered, your motives questioned, your heart misunderstood, and yet you were preserved. You didn't survive because you fought back. You survived because heaven fought for you. Every trap they set was reversed. Every word they cursed returned void. Every eye that watched was forced to witness your rise, because you're not just protected, you are prophetically preserved. You were sent to trigger awakening. You weren't placed in their lives to be their comfort. You were sent to be their quake. You disrupt what's dormant. You shatter illusions. You trigger awakenings they didn't ask for, but desperately needed. That's why they hated you. That's why they couldn't stop watching. Jesus didn't come to maintain the system. He came to break it open. So do you. You were the divine interruption to their sleepwalk. They didn't know what to call it, so they called you arrogant, distant, intimidating, fake. But in truth, you were the alarm clock their soul set before birth. And now, even in your absence, they still feel the vibration of your presence. You were never just a phase. You were the beginning of their becoming. The remnant that knows your pain. Here's what the enemy never wanted you to know. You're not alone. Every chosen one has a chapter in their story where they were stalked, watched, misunderstood, and followed. Not for what they had, but for what they carried. Moses ran from Egypt. Elijah ran from Jezebel. Jesus walked straight into betrayal. You've been walking through spiritual surveillance your whole life, because you're part of the remnant. A global uprising of hidden voices, misunderstood prophets, exiled warriors, and radiant healers scattered across nations but burning with the same fire. Your stalkers confirm your light, but your tribe confirms your assignment. And here, in Chosen One's prophecy, your scroll is being read aloud. Let your light echo. This was never about being popular. It was about being positioned. You didn't survive all of this to stay silent. You didn't overcome hell's obsession just to dim your light. What they stalked was only a preview. Now you must echo. You must speak, create, move, ignite, and release. Not for applause, but for alignment. Because your testimony is a trumpet. Your survival is a signpost. Your voice is a vibration that must now ripple through generations. Let it echo. Let it ring. Let it return thunder into the silence they tried to trap you in. You weren't watched because you were weak. You were watched because you were the warning. A living scroll walking among the asleep, awakening what they tried to bury, igniting what they tried to numb. This was never about admiration. It was activation. Your presence was the prophecy, and their obsession was the proof. You are not what they feared. You are what they needed. but couldn't contain. You, chosen one, have endured the silence, the shadows, the stalking. You were forged in hiddenness, refined in fire, and kept under divine surveillance for such a time as this. Now the hiding ends. Now the light expands. Now the echo begins. You have been watched. You have been warned. Now you are being released. If this word pierced something deep in your spirit, comment 7 now, as a sign that you are walking in confirmation. Share what stirred your soul, what moment called your name, and subscribe to Chosen One's prophecy, because this isn't just a channel, it's a remnant rising. You are not alone. You are the next echo.